I'm Patricia Barlow-Irick, and I train wild horses and I teach people how to train wild horses at Mustang Camp here in northern New Mexico. We've trained more than 600 Mustangs and burros for adoption. In 2021, I took on a student and found her a fresh Mustang with the intent of documenting our process. Maria is a statistician in Portland, Oregon. Her special needs rescue dog, June, introduced her to positive reinforcement based training, and she decided to learn to use these same methods with horses. The Jicarilla Ranger District had 3 recently captured horses in the Forest Service holding facility. The gray mare, they said, sweats if you even look at her. The others were calmer. I want the wild one, I said. We brought her home to meet the other animals at Mustang Camp. If you're just joining this story, we recommend starting at the beginning of our Belle Parker playlist. Click here to go there now. Okay, so we did 72. What do we got for 73? Anything?
73 was task 16, desensitized to rope.
Okay. Except countdown petting all over?
Yep.
Except rope around body parts?
Yes.
Except rope on front and hind legs?
Yes.
Walk with rope dragging on left?
Nope.
Okay, so time spent?
And technically, I don't know that we should say we have the girth.
Well, it's the rope in general. You kind of, yeah, let's talk about that for a second. But how much time we spent?
20 minutes.
Dragging rope around girth and leg, drop rope, and it went.
Yeah. But I guess to be more specific, I was trying to remove the rope from her girth, and the end dropped in that process.
Yeah, we tried dropping it,
yeah,
dependent of her, and then we tried dragging it.
And I think when she said I'm done was when we started dragging it, which could be a problem for the dragging rope.
No, it's totally
I'm saying, but it could have even been a problem before the drop.
Yeah.
Like how much she reacted to that, like I want nothing to do with a dragging rope.
Yeah.
Which felt different than a dropping rope, made me think.
Except that it's a rope on the ground.
Yeah.
The dropping rope is also a rope on the ground. Suddenly, this weird white snake jumps onto the ground.
Yeah. I don't know. There was a feeling of how she reacted to that versus me dropping it that made me think she was not going to be super happy with the dragging rope. I have no idea.
She's not going to be, because she's sensitized to the rope on the ground now.
Yeah.
That rope could just suddenly snap on the ground.
Okay. I was thinking that it was independent of that, potentially.
Yeah. Because she was totally chill about the rope. We could tell that.
Yeah.
She'd seen the rope. Mm-hmm. She noticed the rope. We'd had the rope all over.
Yeah.
But suddenly the rope being on the ground, making a noise.
Although it didn't really feel like it, based on until the drop how well she did.
But that's the thing. That's where you notice it, is when you've got movement and the rope. That's when you really start seeing it. It's because they've been sensitized to think that they shouldn't run away from it. We just have to see.
Yeah.
And it's different if it looks like, oh no, that's a grooming tool. That's not a rope.
Mm-hmm.
That's a grooming tool.
Yeah.
They use that to scratch my belly.
Yeah.
One thing to notice is that we used about a 5/8 inch thick cotton rope on her. We could have used a smaller rope, but I kind of think that the bigger rope helps them, because later on when they see a smaller rope, it doesn't scare them. It's a littler rope. It's littler. It's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Instead of sometimes when you go the opposite way, then it's more stimulus and it's frightening. That's one thing. But then it also has those ribs where it's coiled, and then those those create kind of a stimulation when you're rubbing them. And so I think that's a little bit of trouble we had rubbing the rope on the fetlocks on the hind legs, is that those ribs were kind of bumping that fetlock area. We'll have to watch that because then when you did the leg that you did, you were careful not to get down there either.
Yeah. Got it. Another thing I just noted, which I think is huge, is when you have the rope wrapped around the animal. You reminded me multiple times, and I was reminding myself multiple times, but think about which hand is the hand that let goes and which hand is the hand that holds on.
Yep. Having that plan is really important.
Really important.
Because you're not gonna have time to think about it. Once it.
And I almost did a thing where the hand that I was going to hold on to, I clenched a lot tighter than the hand that I was planning on letting go, just to kind of already have that in place.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I'll just have the rope just barely on my finger that I'm going to let go. Because I'm not really holding on to it. I'm just letting lay on my hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't want to just suddenly get scared and grab it with both hands.
Totally.
That would be bad. Okay. No, okay, let's start at number 74. What task was that?
74 was associated to task 16.
Okay.
We were doing a rope drop at distance.
And we did the rope drop?
The plan was to desensitize her to dropping the end of the rope on the ground, with that sound being the bridge, feeding that. But we only did this for maybe a minute, and then we went into the rope dragging.
Yeah, because she wasn't excited about the rope drop at all. She didn't care. And then it didn't seem like she got too excited about the dragging until, about towards the end of the session or something?
She did. This session ended with the entire rope out and her face over the rope.
Oh, yeah. So it was a trainer walking in front.
Yeah, trainer walking in front.
Yep. Okay, so that was good. And then we thought it was going to be good on 75.
Yep. So 75 was 16.4. Where one trainer's at liberty dragging the rope beside. Started with just the very end dragging. By the end of the session, I probably had 2 feet dragging. And at that end, to me it seemed like she was able to be accepting that rope out, but towards the very end of the section, when I had about 2 feet out that were dragging, she kind of noticed the rope. Or it felt like that was when she first noticed it. And then she really wanted nothing more to do with the game. And that's where we stopped.
So she left after 2 feet of rope were exposed.
And she actually left after 2 feet of rope was exposed after we'd done 2 circles.
Yeah. She just noticed it. Okay, so then 76.
76, we went back to the trainer in front with the trainer behind and dragged the rope in front of her.
One dragging rope. Okay, and how'd that go?
It didn't go perfectly. There were moments where you and I were walking and she was just kind of standing in the middle. Long moments of that.
So I noticed it really made a difference what direction we were going to start out with.
Yeah.
We were only able to get her to really follow us consistently in one direction to start out with, but she had to build up her history with that before we could turn and go the other way.
Agreed.
But in the end, she ended up being able to go both ways.
Yep. And we were doing like kind of a figure 8 pattern. And when you switch to the figure 8 pattern, and when we'd come around the corner and that rope would, slow down, she definitely didn't want to be near it.
Yeah.
Like, she wanted either to get to the other side of it or get on top of me more.
Yeah.
Trying to.
So she's avoiding it.
She was avoiding it once it started.
So it sounds like maybe we have to do another one of those to where she's really
thinks it's not a big deal.
Yeah, because I remember looking at her and thinking, wow, she's really leaning away from that rope.
Yeah.
She's really just, her body's just like leaning.
Yeah. There was also kind of that thing where, we've never had a problem with her getting too close.
Mm-hmm.
But with that rope,
yeah, there
were moments where I was like, you're too close. You're not actually touching me, but you're getting in. You're to avoid that rope.
Yeah.
You're choosing.
Yeah.
To.
And I wouldn't. My criteria for her leading in that point was so low.
Yep.
That I didn't care if she is too close. I didn't care as long as she's walking.
Yeah, and I was just feeding through that, but in my head thinking like, oh, you will get too close. Yeah,
it was the first time we really saw it. But
yeah, just take her halter off.
When I started leading her, I just was like, I have no criteria except that you're following me. You're walking behind me or near me or something, and I can reach over and hand you food.
Yeah.
And it just took a few minutes of doing that to where she got relaxed enough that she could do the behavior.
Yeah. I think another thing to mention from yesterday is we had a busy morning and probably didn't end up doing our first session with her till about 4.
Yeah.
And she was
a little bit.
She was a little angry with us, maybe.
Yeah.
She was.
There was some kind of emotional response. I don't know if it was anger, depression, sadness, abandonment. I don't know what it was, but it definitely there was an emotion there that we hadn't really seen.
And the behavior when you're on her left side, where she really sticks her teeth out to take the food from you.
She was doing that. And
her ears were cocked back in a pretty
for about half the session, I think.
Yeah, it definitely took a while for her to chill out on that.
Yeah, so let's see if that persists today, because we're going to start earlier. Okay, I think we left off on session 77. The last one I have 2 trainers, 1 dragging rope. Did we do the same thing?
So we did the same thing, but then we transitioned to walking with rope between trainer and horse at Liberty.
So is it reasonable to say walking with 1 trainer after review 2 trainers?
Yeah. So I got about 1 foot out. It was dragging, and that worked. But when I went past that, it wasn't, I don't know if it's so much an OMG as she never ran away, but she would stop.
Mm-hmm.
She would look down at it and then just stop.
Yeah.
And
then not engage, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes I could, kind of walk a little bit and then be like, come on, Belle Parker, let's do it. And then get a couple of steps in, and then she'd kind of look down at it and 78. Again, we were trying to do the same thing, 16.4, leading at Liberty with rope, dragging. The goal was to get near the hind feet. She started out, did pretty well, but when I got to about 1.5 feet, kind of that same area, she again did the same thing where she just kind of said, I'm not walking next to that.
Mm-hmm. How much time did we spend doing that?
That was another 20 minutes on 5:29.
Okay, so we're on 80.
Yep, 80 was on 5:30.
What task?
Try it.
Still 16.4.
Okay.
She got to 2 feet. At one point, she was stepping on the rope, and I didn't really know what to do to move us forward. I pulled on it, and this kind of caused a problem.
Yeah.
That kind of
Yeah,
a little bit.
Let me just draw it here, okay? So in this picture, she was like this. You're standing here, and she was like this.
She was stepping on it with her back left foot.
Yeah, and then it touched either this leg or that leg. I don't remember which one it was, but it up in the middle. So it was kind of like the rope was going like that, and it touched her.
June.
And she just like freaked out.
Mm-hmm. She did recover though from that.
Yeah.
But when I got to 2 feet of rope, kind of that same limit, she.
Yeah, I think with her, we've just got all this trigger stacking going on, whether it's the baby moving, whether it's some traumatic memory of rope from when she was with the Forest Service or whatever, but it's like everything matters with the rope.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that pretty soon we're ready to go back to that, since we didn't actually finish 16. No. Okay. Okay, 79.
79.
Are you ready?
16.4 again. It was on 5:30.
So you could just also
we
not
did the rope
bridge.
drag. Yeah, and same thing. Last time got about 2 feet out. That's what I said, but at that point she did the same thing.
So 2 feet.
Yep.
2 feet limit. That's how we can track it. Is
what's
the limit
of
the rope?
Which are kind of estimates. I don't really know if 78 and 79 were.
What were you recording in your session book? Because that would actually be a thing to record, is length of rope that could be drug. You know, if you're not recording another one.
Oh.
In the
that's a
measurement.
Good idea. So like 1.5. This is 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a way to keep track of it. I mean, I'm enjoying looking at it on my graph that it's increasing.
Yeah.
Slowly.
We did make a couple of notes in this one that, well, one problem was I was feeding an alfalfa that had stickery weeds in it and didn't know.
Oh yeah, that's
that
when
needed to be.
we realized we were.
So probably 79, 78. Probably 79, 78, and 77. Was not very good food.
So this is bad alfalfa.
We also noted in 79 that maybe the baby was moving some.
Yes, because she was acting like there was something scary happening over on the left side.
Yeah, and so we kind of after the rope drag wasn't working super well, we did a little bit of petting on her. And
which didn't help at all.
No, it didn't help, and she kept kind of spooking to the left-hand side, whether or not we were really in that place. And so that was where we maybe had the idea that the baby was moving. Although it would be funny if she's not actually pregnant and was there.
She is pregnant. You want to stay out there and do the test?
No.
If you're going to say she's not pregnant, you're going to be out there doing the test.
I think she was pregnant, but it would be funny.
It would
kind
be
of
funny.
how you tell yourself a story of behavior.
Yeah.
So that was, what did I just do?
But she kept, I mean, it was definite. She just would leap from that side.
Yeah.
As if something was tickling her.
Yeah. It did feel like.
And what I noticed, and from my own experience being pregnant, is that, well, what I noticed when I was pregnant is that if you scratch where the baby is, the baby moves more. You know, if you stimulate, if you massage that, the baby will shift and adjust.
Yeah.
And respond to it, you know. And So that's kind of what I think. I think we started scratching her belly, and
Yeah, and then the baby started moving.
yeah, and that's why we ended up stopping scratching her towards the back, because
Yeah.
it just seemed like it was creating more of a problem.
But it is something that we are actively working on, is touching her more and just having her comfortable with that in case, we need to be helpful in some way.
Yep. I think touching her hind legs and touching her rump is a really good plan, and touching her shoulders.
But leave that belly
Leave
alone.
the belly alone for now. So,
I think you got pretty good. I'd do a couple of figure eights.
Get the
Because it's going to change where the rope is. It's going to put the rope more under her feet. She's probably going to step on it. So just be ready for it to pull.
What happened in 81?
81, we just wanted to do countdown petting and not touch her unless she looks relaxed. And this is actually the session where we went in with that intention, and the intention was really to touch the belly.
That's where we discovered the...
Yeah, and that was where the kind of less spooking, where that actually happened. I think that other session we were just kind of wondering if something was going on.
I think that's pretty good.
So this recording is going to be about what all we did to get through task 16.
Okay, so start on
get too
what
much
happened on 84.
Closer, the PIVO won't.
Yeah, well, let's talk about for a moment on 80. We had we got to the 2-foot limit on the rope.
Yep.
We had the 2-foot limit on the rope, and she was stepping on the rope, but we didn't really feel comfortable about how she was. So we went ahead and did countdown petting with her on 81, and then 82 and 83 we actually did task 17. So do you have a note of why we jumped to those?
I think we jumped because we felt stuck. We'd done the rope drag, I think like 4 or 5, maybe 6 sessions.
Right.
I have rope drag notes back.
Yeah, I had 7 sessions. Okay, so let's pick up on 84. That happened on the 2nd. Anything significant?
I think we were doing countdown petting on all parts of her body, and we were dangling off the right and touching her leg, and every time the rope touched her leg we would feed, and that was kind of in a countdown 5 format.
Okay. So we were just doing countdown rope touching.
Yep, on the legs. From the right hand side, because that's where we really felt we had the problem.
So then on the 3rd, we did a bunch of sessions. In fact, we did all the rest of we kind of finished that out on the 3rd. What were the significant things that we did in those sessions?
So 85, we were doing that same thing where we let the rope dangle and touched her leg and fed whenever it touched. We also did a thing where we were dropping the rope onto the ground, and the sound of the rope hitting the ground was the bridge. And the session ended with you actually kind of taking the rope and kind of whacking it on the ground.
Oh, yeah.
Really making a sound, and she hung in there.
She was thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think another just kind of thing that we did in that place was we started looking for her to ask for us to initiate.
Oh, yeah. And is that what we mostly did on 86?
Yeah,
is
86
really,
was really that.
We used the initiator cue. And then 87, was that when we drug the rope?
Just a quick note on 86 too. We're actually tossing the girth over, or the rope over her withers, which I thought was a pretty big deal. And then 87 was our rope drag. We started that one also targeting the rope and then dropping over withers, and then transitioned to rope drag. She had a little bit of hesitation on the rope, but was able to complete the task. We ended with the figure 8. One thing that I noted here is circling so that the trainer's on the outside and the horse is on the inside to start is useful because the rope has less of a chance of going under the animal's feet. So that was our completion of 16.